I'm Charlotte Mundy. I'm going to sing on Thursday, September 5th in the Resonant Bodies Festival at 9 p.m. And I'm singing Three Voices by Morton Feldman, which is going to take up my whole set. It's about 45 minutes. It's a work for either 3 live singers or 1 live singer and 2 pre-recorded voices. And that's the version I'm going to do. I'm in the process of recording the 2 recorded vocal tracks, and then I'll sing one of the voices live. Why I want to do this piece. I heard it when I was 18 years old, my first year of university. I was working at the college radio station, and one of the other DJs recommended it to me, and I listened to it, and my mind was blown. I love it because well, first of all, the recording made by Joan LaBarbera is fantastic. The piece is so detailed and it uses such a small number of tools. It's just 3 women's voices singing quietly, always pitches. There's not really extended techniques except for whispering, and there's only a few words. A lot of the times they're just singing on vowels. So even just the tiniest little change in the piece feels like an epiphany, and like Morton Feldman has such a unique way of using harmonies, and so the harmonies in the piece are really cool. But even though I've known about this piece for a long time, I don't think I could have pulled it off until right about now. It takes a lot of skill, a lot of accuracy, stamina. Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I've always done it recording. I've performed excerpts of it before, but never the whole thing. And like each line takes quite a bit of skill to be able to do it accurately, so it's kind of like you learn one voice, and that takes a while, and then you learn a second voice. It's hard to have like all 3 voices in your head at once. So I've broken it into small chunks, basically, and learned one voice at a time, and sort of figured out how they interlocked. I think I'm going to switch around a little bit between the voices, because at different points, different voices are like in the foreground, and I don't think it really matters in the piece to like stay on one voice the entire time. But he doesn't write anywhere like, feel free to switch, but I'm just kind of taking that creative license. Growing up, my parents listened to music, but it was like top 40 radio and classic rock, and like a little bit of Andrew Lloyd Webber and Andrea Bocelli. Like, they really don't know anything really about classical music, but from a very early age it was obvious that I liked to act and sing. So I took like music theater classes, and I asked for piano lessons, and I had a really good voice teacher. When I was 11, I started taking private voice lessons, and she taught me a lot about just the basics of singing, but especially I got from her like embodying the meaning of the song, and she always made sure that the song I was singing like had a meaning to me. And she was, yeah, a really great teacher. And when I got to university to study classical singing, it was like totally the opposite of what I expected. Like in my private voice lessons, I had been encouraged to be creative and like to put my own spin on a song, and like we talked a lot about musical things, and then suddenly you get to university and lessons are all about technique, and you have coachings where the pianist basically tells you how to interpret a song. You have classes where teachers tell you how to interpret songs. Suddenly I felt like I had no like creative authorship myself. Like I was just like a cog in a machine. And part of that is being a student. Like you need to learn from other people. But I think that's kind of what led me to contemporary music, because the only teachers I really did get along with were like composition teachers or like the teachers that led the contemporary music ensembles. Most of the students that I really made friends with were jazz students, so I got into improvisation. So I think really like my personality kind of led me to contemporary music. I couldn't handle like constantly doing auditions and following other people's instructions. I wanted to like play and figure out my own way of doing things. Yeah, so then I graduated from the University of Toronto. That's where I did my undergrad. And I spent a year, like I sort of started my own group in Toronto and spent a year just kind of hanging out in Toronto. And then I moved to New York and did the contemporary performance program at the Manhattan School of Music. And I loved it, and I love living in New York. I host a radio show on q2music.org, which is part of WQXR, but it's just an online station, and they play contemporary music 24/7, but I have a weekly show that is devoted to new releases of contemporary music. So that's really fun because I get to just go in and go through new CDs and like pick out my favorite parts. I have a duo with a saxophonist from Toronto. So I have Ensemble Sans Met, a chamber group. We're a quintet, flute, percussion, guitar, viola, and voice. I sing with contemporaneous sometimes. I just started a electro-pop band called the Euphemisms. We're gonna release an EP really soon. I write the lyrics and Rich Woodson writes the music, and he does the electronics and I sing on the tracks. I sing with the Yehudim. It's like a sort of a sporadic project. Judd Greenstein writes music for the group and plays in it, and it's sort of a big band. There's someone plays drum set and another percussionist plays other instruments, and there are all these vintage synthesizers, electric guitar, electric bass, and 4 singers. And I play glockenspiel and sing, and it's all stories from the Old Testament. That's what I would like to do more of, more theater, more experimental music theater. I love that. Like I almost became an actor instead of a singer. I love theater. I worked with New Chamber Ballet, and I actually got to sort of dance, move around on stage with a dancer while singing another Morton Feldman piece. That was like really fun. I would love to do more stuff with dance too. I like doing lots of different things, so I say yes to like almost everything that anyone asks me to do. But I think stuff I really click with is often rhythmic, and it's hard to pin down, but like stuff that I feel like, music that I feel like would be somehow discernible even to non-musicians, like in some way there are things about it that a non-trained musician would be able to say, oh, that's a new section, or oh, this sounds angry, or this sounds happy, or this sounds sad. And I really like different folk music traditions, often new pieces that are inspired by folk music. Well, I think there are some pieces that, even vocal pieces that are obviously just purely musical and sound really is enough. But even in those pieces, like even when I was studying piano, I would always come up with a story to go behind any piece. Like you almost can't help it. In order to get into a piece of music, I have to figure out why I'm singing this. Like there has to be a reason why you're opening your mouth. So yeah, I would say drama is huge for me. And sometimes in a really abstract way. There doesn't have to be like specific words behind everything, but there has to be like some kind of inner motivation. Well, 2 revelatory experiences also like when I was studying at the University of Toronto. One was hearing the recording of Recitation by Martin Biard. I thought that was like incredible, and that was shortly after I saw some of the Recitations, and also at the same time I was working on Workers' Union. Both of those, the same teacher, Gregory O. in Toronto, put me onto those pieces. And so I was doing Workers' Union, which is for any instrumentation, like with this big group of instrumentalists, and it felt so good because I was just an equal member of the group. I wasn't just the singer off to the side. And also, both of those pieces are just really fun, and you really have to like get into them, and it really doesn't matter if you sound like a classical singer.